So for example, your complainant asserts that the assailant, your respondent, was wearing a red shirt during the attack. It was a sexual assault in the dorms. He was wearing a red shirt. So let's go through this list of evidence and decide whether it is corroborating or not. You determined that the respondent owns a red shirt, is first. Second, you collect surveillance CCTV footage from the dorms, and it shows a man in a red shirt near the time of the attack, the alleged attack, and on the same floor and hallway. So near the time and place. Third, witnesses, you talked to other students in the dorms, and witnesses saw a man in a red shirt matching the description running down the hallway at about the time the alleged assault would have been completed. So around the same time frame. And you determine that the respondent likes the color red. He has his bedspread is red, and he's got a bunch of red stuff in his room. He likes red. So what in this list is corroborating? What corroborates the assertion of fact that the assailant was wearing a red shirt? The fact that the respondent owns a red shirt? Maybe, maybe not. It supports the fact that it's possible that he could have been wearing a red shirt because he has one, right? The opposite would also tell you something if he didn't own a red shirt. Well, what if your school colors are red and blue? Everyone owns a red shirt. Then it's not quite as helpful. The respondent likes the color red. Doesn't really corroborate. It might support the fact that he's got red clothes and therefore could have possibly been the person. So it's information. Liking the color red's not really as relevant. So you talk to the witnesses first. They saw the man in the red shirt running past. That is corroborating evidence. They can't necessarily put the man in the room or say what happened in the room, but they can say that this corroborates. You're saying this happened and afterwards he left and ran out the door. They're saying, yes, someone ran down the hallway. So that supports that information. And then you went and looked at surveillance footage. You're like, okay, so these witnesses corroborate. Let's corroborate that even further to support it even further. And then you find this CCTV footage showing a man in a red shirt at that time. So you've supported the witnesses, and the witnesses support the complainant. Again, you don't have direct evidence of someone in the room, of what happened in the room or who was in the room, but it does support, it does corroborate, it shows that the complainant's, that part of the complainant statement is credible because other facts surrounding that assertion are true. You can corroborate that. So you're building on each other. And a lot of times that's what you have to do because you're not going to have direct evidence. There are not very many sexual assaults that occur in front of witnesses or that are videotaped. It happens. And if you can find it, if you can find that video, then you're lucky and that's great. But it doesn't happen very often. You rarely have that direct type of evidence. And you rarely, as a Title IX investigator, have access to forensic evidence. So decision makers, you also need to recognize this. You need to realize that when you get a report, you can't expect that there's going to be this forensic lab report where they've analyzed the sexual assault forensic examination. That's controlled by law enforcement. That can take 6 months to a year to happen. You have to be done long before that report ever comes back. So you have to look at other facts that support the assertions rather than the actual forensic examination report. So that one, you corroborated it through witness statements, and then you move to the next step to corroborate through surveillance footage. So often one step leads to another. It gives you additional leads, and the more information, i.e. evidence, that you can find that supports the story or the asserted fact, the stronger it becomes, the more corroborated it becomes. So in this situation, you've corroborated the fact that there was a man in the vicinity at the time of the assault wearing a red shirt. But the surveillance footage isn't quite clear enough to identify him. The witnesses couldn't identify him because he was running. It's just they have a general description. Now you have to tie that to the actual respondent because you still haven't connected those two. If your school uniform, your school colors are red, that may be meaningless. It was on game day and you were painting the stadium red so everyone's in a red shirt, then it's going to be hard. But the fact that he owns a red shirt is a piece of the puzzle. It's information. The fact that he likes red, not quite as relevant, but it's in there. It's something to consider. Keep at the back of your mind. Is there a red shirt that you talk to his roommate and you say, yeah, it was kind of weird. He's got this red shirt he wears all the time. And this morning I found it in the garbage can in our room. So why did he throw this red shirt away? So now you have additional information. So you have to tie that shirt to your respondent if you can. And again, that may be difficult to do. You're just looking for information that supports or corroborates that statement. And the more you get, the stronger it becomes. And you have to ask, in order to do that, this is how you evaluate. You ask yourself the question, and you have to be very honest because often it doesn't prove what you hope it does. It doesn't tell you what you're hoping. So you do all this work, you do all of these interviews, and at the end of the day, you want to say, yeah, look, this proves it. And it doesn't. So ask yourself the question, what does this actually prove? I've now obtained this piece of information, I have this piece of the puzzle. What does it actually prove? The fact that he owns a red shirt proves that he owns a red shirt. What does it actually say? How do you connect it? And then you ask the question, okay, how is that relevant? So in this case, it's relevant because the assailant was wearing a red shirt. But what does it actually prove? And ask yourself that as you evaluate every piece of information.